It is here.
Welcome back to Cabomil News Community Update in English with Korey Riggs and Claudia Velo on this May 22nd. I got to get back into my jazz voice, Claudia.
Yeah, that was. I mean,
was that jazz?
When you did that live mention, I have to say, I'm going to do a clip of that and just play it.
Well, I don't know, because we're talking about the Jazz Fest. It makes you want to talk like jazz.
Exactly.
Get it down. And
FM.
So make sure you're going to the Jazz Fest next weekend. And remember to always support our sponsor, Ronneval Real Estate, who our show is brought by. So it's always great. And that it did sound good with the jazz voice. I hope Nick liked it. So
everything sounds better with a jazz voice.
So Claudia, what's happening with the news? What's going on?
So let's start with the fact that Los Cabos is doing so well. And Travel Pulse just recently published an article saying that the love affair between Los Cabos and the U.S. continues to grow. And when comparing the numbers of American travelers that were recorded in 2021, it grew 5.4% compared to the numbers of 2019. And as we know, because we talked about this earlier in the week, if in the small news briefs that are broadcasted from Tuesday through Friday at 7 p.m. in Cabomil, we are at this super high number of travelers coming into Los Cabos. But Rodrigo Esponda, who is the managing director of the Los Cabos Tourism Board, said that there is an array of reasons why people continue to choose Los Cabos. And besides the fact that it offers a variety of activities and it is catering to the high-end segment of the market and it has more flights, it was mentioned that U.S. travelers are interested in exploring destinations that are really concerned about sustainability. And did you know, and this was also published by Travel Pulse, that 42% of Baja California Sur are natural protected areas, including, of course, the Sea of Cortez, which is a UNESCO World Heritage. So it is these little things that sometimes we as locals don't know and are not aware of. That is what the tourism board is promoting and letting the world know. And that is what is actually attracting tourism to Los Cabos.
That's great. I always was under the impression that I knew Cabo Pulmo is a protected area.
It is.
But there's more protected areas besides, so the whole Sea of Cortez.
Yeah, and like Isla Espíritu Santo.
Yes, I knew that one too. I knew, yeah.
That is La Sierra del Vizcaíno, which is where the bighorn sheep live. So there's a lot of protected areas. And I do want to mention one thing. I went to La Paz a couple weeks ago, and we went with a tour guide that is authorized by CONAMP, which is the agency that takes care of environmental protection. And so they have to pay a tax to be allowed to visit Isla Espíritu Santo. And there are patrols that are from CONAMP that are, like sailing around the island, checking that not a lot of people are disembarking and things like that. But unfortunately, there's always the pirates that show up with a boat full of people and try to sneak by. So if you do travel to these areas, be a responsible traveler and make sure that you use registered service providers that are doing the right thing. And don't use others just to save a few bucks, because the tax is not that much. They will charge you a little bit more for the tour, but you know what? You're doing it the right way. You're with people who care about not leaving trash behind, not taking too much people to damage something that is such a delicately balanced ecosystem. So as travelers, we also need to be kind of like conscious of our actions.
And to anybody in our audience, if you haven't been to Espiritu Santo Island, you need to go. I mean, it's an incredible trip around the island, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of tour. I mean, you can find it very easily if you go up to La Paz. Tour company will take you. And there's lots of different ways to do it, but you can also go onto the beach and have a little lunch, and there's lots of really cool things to do. The snorkeling around with the sea lions in the north of the island,
which are amazing, and I had
Yeah.
never seen them. They were kind of like sea otters laying on their back and with their, like holding each other with their fins. It was so cool. It was so cool. And the babies, I mean, it was amazing. And then Isla Partida, which if you love hiking and you go with a registered tour guide, you can hike from one island to the next, which is super cool. So.
Well, and I also wanted to mention Doctora Maria Elena, who is the executive director of the Telethon Crete, who we've had on the show in La Paz. She's going to the Bay of Dreams, which used to be the Bahía de los Muertos, right? The Bay of the Dead. Now it's the Bay of the Dreams. I guess the marketing sounds better.
It's all about marketing, yeah.
But she said that she's going swimming with blue whales. There's blue whales there right now. And I had no idea there were blue whales around.
No, it's not a common occurrence, but there have been some. And how fortunate can you imagine to see a blue whale?
I mean, how about swim with? They're going swimming with them. They're gonna go free diving. So she told me that's what she's doing this weekend.
Are you joining them? Because since you have become such a fanatic.
Well, well, at the time, she's going the same night as Yael's concert, which if you're listening to this on the radio, that happened last night.
So you missed the blue whale diving.
Yes, I'm going to miss that, but that's okay. I'll go the next time, but it sounds really cool, but there's lots of things to do. And I mean, we're not even talking about Cabo Pulmo. You got to go to Cabo Pulmo. You can do scuba diving there. And so we need to have some shows where we just talk about all the things to do outside of Los Cabos. I think we need
Loreto. Loreto's another place that you can visit and spend 4 or 5 days visiting different points, seeing things that you wouldn't even think are there. I was talking to who you've met, 2 young girls from the Netherlands. And as most people know, some of the oldest cave paintings in the world are in France. But did you know that right here, less than an hour and a half away from Loreto, we have cave paintings that predate, they're way older than the ones in France and are also more striking. Just the size, the sheer size of the cave paintings. And when you look at, there's one that they call Las Manitas, which are like the little hands. There's thousands of these little handprints on the ceiling of a tall cave. It's like, how did they get there?
How the heck did that happen? How did that happen?
Exactly. They were good at human pyramids. I don't know. But it's amazing. Loreto area is another place where you can just lose yourself and discover a lot of wonderful things that we didn't even know were so close to where we live. Yeah.
Very, very cool. Everything around. Anything else in the news, Claudia? We're gonna. You did an interview with Rodrigo, which we're gonna get to.
I did an interview with Rodrigo where he talked about the results that are really good. So I don't know if you want to listen to that now, and then we can come back.
We'll get back to some news. Let's do that.
Talk to some news. Okay, so here is Rodrigo Esponda, who presented. Well, the Los Cabos Tourism Board presented the results for last year and the first quarter of this year last week, and it is looking so good for Los Cabos, but also, and this is something that he mentions, we need to be careful. We need to be mindful and keep doing the right thing so that people keep coming. So here's Rodrigo.
All right.
Rodrigo, welcome, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Claudia. Always talking to you is a pleasure.
So yesterday, there was a press conference where Fiturca announced its results, and the numbers were amazing. Can you please tell us a little bit about what's been happening in Los Cabos and how the behavior of tourism has surprised everybody?
Yes, thank you. What we did yesterday is we published a report on the results of 2021. How have been the numbers? What is the closing of the spectacular year that it was 2021, and how it's been the first quarter of the 2022, and what are we expecting to have. So the numbers have been spectacular, as probably we reviewed before. We had in 2021 the same number of visitors, air visitors, than in 2019, with some differences in the composition. Many more Americans came to destinations versus Canadians and other nationalities. However, we grew in the number of Americans. We also grew in the length of stay that visitors come, even though that Canadians that traditionally would stay longer have not been coming back, but the Americans that have been coming, because they have been coming from different regions in the United States. At the Northeast, we have seen a very robust growth, for example, from New York and from other cities in the Northeast and the Midwest. So the length of stay has been better. And also the spending per visitor has been more because of the type of services, wellness, sustainability, all the outdoor activities have been really in demand. So that has helped the suppliers. The gastronomy has been remarkable, what has been happening in the gastronomy. Because of the quality of the product, but also because responding to the needs of the market. So we presented a numbers on different segments and different strategies that we are going to be working for 2022 to make sure that Los Cabos remains very competitive.
It's wonderful. Something that was a highlight is the number of travelers that have been registered. Lately, there was there used to be that traditional 300,000 per month was kind of like the highlight, and if we reach that, it was an excellent month. But it looks like that trend is changing for an improvement, an increase in numbers. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, March of this year had been the record number of arrivals. We overpassed 300,000, as you mentioned. We reached 325,000 visitors came, domestic and international, on that month. April has been also remarkable with 315,000 arrivals, and May apparently is going to be also a record month. So March was the biggest month in history in terms of arrivals. April was the best April in history, and May will be the best May in history that we have. The advanced bookings for June and July also look very promising. So it looks that we're going to have a very good summer season in the destination, and that makes us very happy. But also, we need to be aware that we need to, as a society, as a community, work collectively to make sure that the cleanliness of the destination is at the level, that the service, that the security, that the mobility, that we are very conscious on the mobility that is going to be happening in the destination. And when people are traveling to the airport, we need to be aware of the time that it would take the visitors to get to the airport and to move from one place to the other.
It is a very thin line from being the star to being the unwanted child. I still remember that dreadful article more than 20 years ago that was published in the Wall Street Journal that talked precisely about that, you know, how the little details make a huge difference, and our society needs to, everybody in our community needs to be aware of that. Something else that is very interesting is the fact that you had a recent meeting in Washington, D.C., and it wasn't just anybody that you met with. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, we were very fortunate to participate in a series of meetings that the Embassy of Mexico coordinated in Washington, D.C. for the Federal Minister of Tourism. So we had the opportunity to meet with Ambassador Rina Bitter, who is the Assistant Secretary at the U.S. State Department. The point of the discussion was related to the travel warnings. Unfortunately, as you know, Los Cabos and Baja California Sur have worked on a very comprehensive, safe, physically safe environment for all the visitors and the community alike. So we had the opportunity to explain briefly, but the model that we've been implementing in the destination with the participation of the private sector and the three levels of the authorities at the municipality, state, and federal level to make sure that it is implemented all along the destination. We work very closely through the U.S. consulate in Tijuana with OSAC, that is the Overseas Security Advisory Council. The fact that the Mexican Marine is helping in providing some logistical support and all the things that you know better. So I explained that, and it's very clear that they know that the conditions in Los Cabos are positive for all the visitors. They know that we have a large expat community of U.S. citizens living in the destination, that they are safe. So we discussed that, and I think it was very productive. We also have some other meetings with different associations at the highest level, with the airlines, with the cruises, with the travel agencies, with the president of Marriott about investment. So it was a very good overall meeting, but the highlight was this meeting with the State Department.
And obviously, all these things and all the work that has been done has helped to increase the average price per night for the destination for Los Cabos, and put Los Cabos as the destination in Mexico with the highest average rate per night. Is that something that you see as continuing? And what's your opinion regarding what we need to do as a community to maintain that?
Well, the average daily rate in the destination is a reflection of the trust that the visitors have on the destination, which is very positive. It's been recovering in all over Mexico in the beach destinations, but of course, not at the level of what we have, fortunately, in Los Cabos. $455 per room per night is what we have on average so far in 2022. It is $150 more than the same 4 months of 2019. So it is really remarkable, this growth that we have. However, I would go back. It is not a reason to really relax and think that this is going to happen just by accident. We need to consistently make sure that the quality of the service and the quality of the experiences that we offer to the visitors are at the right level. Of course, the conditions have been moving in favor of what is happening in Los Cabos, because collectively we've been working to provide the highest level of safety and the quality of the destination. People know that the gastronomy, the level of hospitality in the hotels, the tours activities, and the geography in itself, the weather, they are all in favor of having this type of experiences. However, we need to make sure that the service is at the level of this amount that the visitors are willing to pay. Private aviation, as you know, has been remarkable. It's been growing so far in the year 100% over what we grew last year. So it's truly, it's getting around 35% of the total operations in the San Jose del Cabo airport are private aviation operations. So the ratio is super high, especially because of the volume of operations that the airport has. So we are really having a very good chance to position Los Cabos in a influential market that has a very affluent position in the society in the United States and Canada and other parts. And they are living with a very positive opinion of destination, which is very good because we have a high repetitive base of travelers. But again, we need to make sure that we keep working hard in training to make Los Cabos very competitive as a destination.
Absolutely. Training and making sure that our visitors leave with a perception of value, where it's not about how much it costs, but whether it's worth the price. And so that needs to be our focus.
Exactly. Totally agree.
Rodrigo, thank you so much for the work that you and Fiturca and everybody involved in this industry does, and for keeping us informed. And we will, of course, we'll be contacting you again to keep us updated with anything that happens here in Los Cabos in terms of promotion and tourism.
Thank you, Claudia. Pleasure talking to you.
3, 2. There we go.
As always, and probably right now, as we know, you didn't talk about his shark swimming, but he swims with the big sharks. I just swim with the small ones. He goes to the big ones in Cabo Pulmo. But I thought that was such a great interview, Claudia. As always, you're so good at that.
Thank you. But I think what's really important about what he said is exactly that, about being aware of the fact that we need to continue to work to stay in the preference of travelers. We can't just kind of like lower our guard and lay back and say, oh, they'll keep coming. We need to keep doing things right. Otherwise we'll lose them, you know?
No resting on the laurels. You can't rest on your success and get fat and lazy and just let things go. So you gotta stay sharp. And also you think about, as Cabo keeps growing, because a lot more people, not only are tourists coming here, but a lot more people are buying homes here. A lot of people are moving here. And we have to keep remembering, we got to upgrade the services for people. And that's what's so important about the foundation work that we are very involved in.
Exactly.
There's still not specialty medical services for children, which we're about to change that. We're working on that. And we'll have a big announcement about that soon. But lots of things going on.
Can't wait to make that announcement.
Still working on a couple details, but we've gotten over the biggest humps, but we're working on it. But it's very important to give back to the community and make sure that, you know, we have some of the wealthiest people in the world that live here, some of the wealthiest communities, and we just need to make sure that we keep bringing the whole community along to really make it to continue to be one of the best places to go in the world. I mean, as we can see by the results.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what's important. And
absolutely, we
can't forget about the fact that we are in a tropical area and we are officially in hurricane season.
No.
Yes.
Again already?
Again already. It started May 15. It goes until November 30th. And fortunately, according to the weather experts, and of course, I think of all the sciences, weather forecasting is one of the most you can't really predict. They have an idea. They of course have the reasons for the forecasting, and they are considering the fact that La Niña is in effect, which creates colder surface wind currents. And so they are expecting a hurricane season somewhat similar to the hurricane season we experienced last year. Nevertheless, and this is the part that's kind of important, I think, to keep in mind, is that they are expecting several named storms. And that means that they have the possibility, they have enough strength to become a tropical storm. And for the 2022 season, forecasters are predicting 15 to 19 named storms with the possibility of 6 to 8 hurricanes, and 2 to 4 of those to be major hurricanes. Now, that means that 2 to 4 could be a category 3 or higher hurricane. And just so you remember, a category 3 hurricane is one with maximum sustained winds of at least 111 miles per hour. Anybody who lived through Odile knows what stronger winds feel like. So
and I don't believe some people, I mean, a lot of people say that was a category 3, that there was moments of category 4.
Yeah, right? Officially it was a category 4.
Oh, it was officially. They've changed it. Okay. I thought it would hit. So
yeah,
that was not. And then what was the hurricane that hit last year that seemed like a little baby compared to Odile?
Olaf. It was
another O. Oh, thank you. Great.
Yeah,
great.
It was Olaf. Yeah. And so the main thing also, Cabomil had a really good interview on Friday morning with the head of civil protection and the head of the Los Cabos Volunteer Fire Department, talking about the fact that, number one, preparedness is key. You have to be prepared. You have to have a plan. Even if this is your first year living in Los Cabos, you have no idea what a hurricane is. get the resources. They're easy to
Mhm.
find nowadays. If you speak Spanish, well, go to Conagua. If you are, as most of our audience is in fact an expat or a foreign resident or visitor, go to National Hurricane Center website, and they have preparedness kits, and it's kind of like common sense. If you take
Mhm.
medicine, make sure that you have at least 1 month's worth supply. If you have pets, make sure you have enough food for your pets. And if you live in Cabo, if you've spent any time living in Cabo, you will have water, bottled water in your home, because
Mhm.
guess what? We run out of water, even when there's no hurricanes. So
Yep.
have enough. The Hurricane Center, the National Hurricane Center in the US recommends 1 gallon of water per person in the household per day. And you should have at least, the recommendation is 7 days worth. My personal recommendation, and I'm not an expert, but I've lived through a few hurricanes, is have 2 weeks worth. So, 1 gallon of water per person per day. And if you have pets, consider also
Mhm.
at least a gallon of water, depending on the size of your pet, of course, you know better how much water they will be needing, but also consider water and pet food enough to last anywhere between 7 to 14 days.
Mhm.
If a storm is coming, don't panic. Listen to the authorities and the official sources of information, especially nowadays with social media. There's so much misinformation out there. Make sure that whatever you're reading and whatever you're sharing is coming, especially in the case of a tropical storm or a hurricane, is coming from an official source.
Yes. I like EEB Mike. That's the one that I always look up. So that's a nice website. We'll put it on the
Yeah,
Facebook page.
it's a
And
good.
you like Wendy also? You were saying you like Wendy?
Yeah, EEB Mike is a good resource, because what they do is they put together the information from several um, official websites.
Mhm.
Why I like Windy is because they use the European forecasting system, which considers variables different from the North American forecasting system. The National Hurricane Center, it is the authority, because they're the ones that send the airplanes that go into the hurricanes and actually measure the pressure and take pictures of the eye and really look at the air currents and what's happening. And even Mexico's Conagua, which is the official agency that monitors the behavior and trajectories of hurricanes, follows the lead of the National Hurricane Center's forecasts and tracking.
Mhm.
So yeah, those are the ones that you should be watching. And of course, Cabomil is always, when they're during hurricane season, it's the best resource for local information, and in terms of what civil protection for the municipality and civil protection for the state, and of course the federal civil protection department agency is doing. So yeah, there you go.
Well, Claudia, it has been another spectacular show. Thank you very much. As we have our jazz voices on, because remember, you're going to go to the Jazz Fest next week.
Yeah, next week. Don't forget, Friday the 27th, Saturday the 28th, from 6 to midnight. Completely free, family friendly, and it's going to be fun. So
And to complete your weekend next week, you remember Sunday night at 6 p.m. You will listen to Cabomil News and Community Update with Korey Riggs and Claudia Velo once again, or you can always watch us on Facebook Live. But we are always brought to you by Ronnieval Real Estate, so thanks to them. And we will see you next week, same time, same place.
catch you next time.